Hello and welcome, friends. I extend a very warm welcome to all of you to another segment of USANAS Dialogues. Today, we are going to discuss a very critical issue in the emerging world order of today's transformative situation. We are going to discuss shifting geopolitics of East Asia, China's regional ambitions, and India's strategic assessment. And today, we are joined by General Deepak Mahara, an eminent expert on the subject and a man with insights from the field. For long, he has served in Moscow and currently he is also pursuing his PhD. So he brings a unique amalgamation of theory and practice. Before I request him to make his opening remarks, I would like to give a brief introduction of his work and his profile. Major General Deepak Mahara, Kirti Chakra, AVSM, VSM, is an alumnus of National Defense Academy and was commissioned in 5 Gorkha Rifles Frontier Force in 1987. He has served as military attaché in Embassy of India, Moscow, and had the privilege of serving in the war-torn zone of Democratic Republic of Congo as a military observer as part of the UN peacekeeping operations. An accomplished scholar, he specializes in geopolitics with a focus on Russian studies and is currently pursuing his PhD in the field, further enriching his depth of knowledge and global perspective. Witnessing the transformation of warfare firsthand over the 4 decades, from Operation Pawan in Sri Lanka to modern conflicts in Syria, Ukraine, and Middle East, he has rigorously analyzed these events and synthesized their strategic lessons with an aim of strengthening the Indian Army's preparedness for emerging security challenges. He is the founding director and CEO of ThoughtSec Global Private Limited, a security and strategic consulting firm. General Mehra, a very warm welcome to you. Over to you. I'll request you to make your opening remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Abhinav, Dr. Pandey. It's wonderful to be here, and I'm grateful. And the topic that you've chosen is so contemporary, and I think India cannot remain aloof from the happenings in this particular region. Okay, to start with, I think I'll start with the broader picture, then focus on towards one particular aspect, one particular country that we decided upon. See, the world today stands at a very decisive moment of transition in global power hierarchy, as the rising powers are challenging the dominant ones for preeminence, thereby increasing the likelihood of conflicts as we see all around. The post-Second World War II, post-Cold War world order, long dominated by the victors of those eras, are now under strain as the center of gravity is shifting, to be very frank, from west to the east. The once unchallenged great powers find themselves in relative decline, even as the new centers of influence rise to contest old order. And this contest is reshaping the strategic landscape. Actually, I would like to just quote Lord Tennyson when one in a poem, once he says, "Old gives way to the new," a poem of Idylls of a King. The old order changeth, yielding place to new, and God fulfills himself in many ways, lest one good custom should corrupt the world. Similarly, in Mahabharata, Bhishma Pitama ने युधिष्ठिर से बोला, nothing in this world is permanent. Change is the order of the day or the law of the nature. Now, when you look at the world order, this change will not be without resistance. The resistance of established powers, led by the United States, manifests itself in many ways, multiple forms. Maybe it's reinterpreting international law into the rules-based order, which is applied selectively, waging wars with or without UN sanctions, orchestrating regime change or color revolutions, sanctions, or utilizing of economic instruments as tools of coercion. Now, all these tactics intended to preserve the hegemony have given rise to volatility across the globe. And East Asia is also, it epitomizes this flux. Here, the clash between the entrenched powers and emerging challenges is very high, very stark, and the consequences for the security, for the economics part, for the governance part, are very high. Therefore, for India, assessing being almost part of this area through our Mahasagar, what we have laid out for ourselves, it is not merely a question of a foreign policy, but of a strategic imperative in navigating this era defined by uncertainty, rivalry, and of course, multipolar transformations. Today, this particular area has become the epicenter of global geopolitics, where security, economics, as well as the ideology interact with each other. Looking at the importance of this area, if in 50s and 60s, over 70%, 75% of the world GDP was accounted for by the US, Europe, and Japan. Come 2025, the global GDP, Asia's share exceeds 50%, led by China and India. And East Asia out of it is almost 25%, with 17% of the world trade accounted for by this area. I'm not yet taking Southeast Asia into it, because when you talk about East Asia, it's China, Japan, both the Koreas, and Mongolia, actually. But if you add Southeast Asia into this, you add another 7 to 8% of GDP, you add another maybe 8% of the world trade. That is what we are looking at. But yes, out of all this, China is the dominant factor in East Asia, with almost 70 to 72% of the entire East Asia GDP accounted for this one big country. Looking at the natural resources, seaborne, oil, gas, and the major part is the manufacturing and technology, be it semiconductors, be it electronics, be it automotive, machinery, shipbuilding industries, dominant East Asia. And we can't talk of East Asia without mentioning the sea lines of or slocks, sea lanes of communication, be it Malacca, be it Singapore Strait, Lombok, Sunda, or the South China Sea, where from the majority of the traffic, almost 94,000 vessels, just to put the perspective, passes through Straits of Malacca per year. Compare with 2022,000 which passed through Suez Canal. Similarly, almost 80% of the China's crude comes through this area. And also, as the Arctic routes are opening up, the relevance of this particular area continues to increase. Also, this particular area, East Asia, is home of number of unresolved conflicts and flashpoints, be the East China Sea, Senkaku or Diaoyu, whatever we may call, islands, disputes, Taiwan Strait, a perpetual hotspot, almost every week, every day in the news, Korean Peninsula, North and South Coast, most militarized zone of the world, as they say. Of course, India, China, maritime disputes, nine dash line and all that. Also, Russia, Japan, which is obviously which at times are put under the scanner. Though the active hostilities have ended, but no formal peace treaty has yet been signed between Japan and Russia also. And in all this, there are ambitions of various regional and international actors. I'll just upon the China's and the India's ambitions. So as far as China is concerned, it seeks to establish itself as a central power in East Asia and a sort of a competitor to challenge the US, not only in this area, but globally. South China Sea, I already mentioned the nine dash line, militarization, artificial islands, and coercive actions against many countries to include Philippines, Vietnam, Japan, and others. Taiwan remains its core interest of unification, which drives it towards modernization, enhancing its seaborne blue water capability, economic road initiatives, RCEP, investments in infrastructure, and of course, expanding military, economic, and political dominance to secure supply chains, choke points, and technological leadership. As far as India is concerned, we moved from look east to act east policy under the present government, and rightly so, deepening our ties with ASEAN, Japan, Australia, from Asia Pacific to Indo-Pacific frameworks, and also recently participating in Quad. So we are a very walking a very fine balancing line. On one side, we are engaged with Quad. On other side, we are engaged with SCO, with BRICS, ties with Russia for energy and defense supplies. Also, our Mahasagar recently articulated expansion of Sagar, security and growth for all in the region, encompasses a wider Indo-Pacific outreach with emphasis on maritime cooperation in the Pacific and beyond, humanitarian aspects, security and growth for all, and such things. And as we grow from fifth to fourth to third largest economy in the world, we do intend to play a larger role beyond the Indian Ocean, and I think the spirit of Mahasagar, the cooperative spirit of Mahasagar, will propel India as a maritime diplomacy to propel India towards that. Also, I forgot to mention is Chennai Vladivostok corridor, which also passes through this particular area. So this is as far as the overall East Asia is concerned. Now coming on to the specific about North Korea, and out of all this, there is a small country which is small but has a disproportionately significant state. Its geography particularly makes it frontline for great power combination or competitions. Its strength lies in its sort of nuclear deterrent, military manpower, resilience under isolation for so long, and of course, if you look at its weaknesses, it's economic stagnation, insecurity on the food, and of course, the diplomatic isolation from across the world and UN sanctions. Now, it is a place where the interests of the big powers, the biggest powers of the world today, intersect, be it United States, Russia, China, and of course, with South Korea and Japan in the eye of the storm being the closest to this particular area. And it remains one of the most sensitive hotspots in the global geopolitics. Before I move further, it is also, just for interest's sake for the audience, it's also known as a hermit kingdom. And actually, hermit kingdom is an epithet used to refer to any country, organization, or sort of society that isolates itself willfully, either metaphorically or physically, from the rest of the world. Apart from North Korea, even at times Bhutan is referred to as a hermit kingdom. Now, North Korea follows a Juche state ideology. Now, what is the Juche state ideology? It is sort of ideology which was given by Kim Il Sung, followed by Kim Jong Il. That is the father and the grandfather of the present incumbent. And basically, it's a isolation of self. It's an ideological break from Marxism and Leninism, and it incorporates historical, materialistic ideas of Marxism, Leninism, but also emphasizes on the individualism or individual, the nation state, and the national sovereignty, right? So, and actually, it's long, but we will leave it at that. Maybe some other time. Now, as far as having seen the aspect of it, looking at the importance of this particular country, one geopolitical flashpoint, intersection of, as I said, the biggest powers of the world, buffer state between, on one side, China and Russia, and across that 88th parallel is the US aligned South Korea, where almost 28,000 of the US troops are permanently stationed. Not only troops are stationed, but they have got potent missile systems in the form of THAADs and all, with longer range, looking deep inside China as also towards Russia. And as far as its relations are concerned, this particular country is sort of isolated from the world with the world UN sanctions, economic sanctions. China is its lifeline, closest ally, with 98% of the trade going through China. With Russia, last about 3 years or so, the trades have increased a bit, not a bit, quite a bit, though figures are not really readily available on the internet. But yes, with the support of North Korean boots on ground, artillery shells, missile technology, And vice versa, Russia's support in oil commodities to North Korea, the trade has increased post the start of Ukraine conflict. Now, as far as South Korea is concerned, historically hostile, there were moments of positivity, moments of sunshine, right from I think 2010 to somewhere around 2018. It peaked around 2018-19 when in Olympics. Can you imagine South Korea and North Korea contingent walked under the one flag? So that was the height of, I think, the good relationship between the two. But post 19, there has been a cold. I mean, there has been no thaw in the relations. United States remain adversarial. Multiple times tried to start the negotiations, but failed. The best time probably was during the Trump's first term when thrice they met, once in Hanoi, once in Singapore, and once Trump became the first president to enter North Korea through a demilitarized DMZ, demilitarized zone. Of course, Japan and disputes are there, abductions and missile flights and security threats, on the sea problems and all. So this is how the relationships go. The one aspect I think before I close my aspect is about, and then we move on to the Indian part, is about its military aspects. It is almost 1.2 million active soldiers with almost 600,000 in reserve. For such a small country, this is a huge standing army. Nuclear weapons, almost 50 to 60 weapons they have, and probably material for another 30, making it to 80, 90. There are various websites giving various figures, but roughly 50 to 60 we can take it. 6 times it has tested its nuclear weapons, starting with 2006, and the last one was supposedly thermonuclear. They have moved from plutonium to uranium to hydrogen to thermonuclear. That's how the thing is. And as far as ICBMs and hypersonic vehicles are concerned, they have got almost ICBM moving up to 13,000 kilometers, submarine launched ICBMs, also a nuclear submarine which they have showcased in 2023. Surprisingly, in cyber warfare, hacking, and crypto thefts, they are quite good. And as far as coming on to the economic part, I think there's nothing much to say. So command economy, and also mining raw materials, entirely dependent on China. The severe UN sanctions over its nuclear program primarily has cut it off from various other countries, and therefore a problem. GDP is just about $500 to $600 amongst, I think, one of the lowest per capita in the world, one of the lowest actually. Now, as far as India is concerned, we had traditional links with Koreas. Let's not talk about North Korea, South Korea. We'll talk about traditional links. As the legend goes, in the 13th century Korean chronicle, Samyuk Suyusa, it mentions about the princess from India, from Ayodhya, marrying Kim Suro, the prince of Koreas. And it is from that time our linkages have started. In between there would have been, but I think we straight away jump onto the Korean War and the 49s and the 51s, 2 year of Korean War, and we took a neutral role where we deployed our field ambulances and the medical units. And by the way, when you go to the South Korea, Seoul, where I was in 2011, and we visited DMZ also, in both the countries, they say, not only in South Korea, in North Korea also, those that neutral stance, as also the assistance provided by the Indian contingent is still remembered. I remember walking on the main road of Seoul, and luckily those were the days they were commemorating 7 days of India's role in the war. So there were posters, old photographs, Thimaiya's photographs put onto the pavements, and a lot of people were visiting that. So they do not forget these things. And similarly, they say in global, in North Korea also it is there. Now, uh, over last about 3 to 4 years, or rather under the tenure of the present leader, supreme leader, the stock of North Korea has really increased, and especially after 2020, 2021, post-Ukraine conflict, it has really stature has grown and activity has also grown. Uh, how can we remain aloof or away from such an important facet where it has such a huge capabilities? I have not yet talked about the relations it had with Pakistan or relationship it had with US and some other countries or with the Arab countries from where it got various facets of technology, and to some of these countries it passed on certain technologies. Sorry, I hope I'm clear because the phone call came.
Yes.
You can hear
General
me, no?
Mehra, do you want me to show the map?
Yeah, we can show the map now actually. Yeah.
Okay, just give me a second, I'll share it.
I can continue, right? No issues.
Yeah, you can
Okay.
continue, please. Go ahead.
So, 2021 was the time when we closed our embassy without giving any particular reason. Beta, this is a Southeast Asia map. Put East Asia map. Let the Russia also come in, Japan full come in. Yes. Okay.
I'll move
So,
around when you speak
yeah, no
for
issue.
the
Just
countries.
just leave it so that anybody who's watching, then they can, align to what one is saying.
Yeah.
So 21 was a time when, without any reason, we did close our embassy, and it was a mass exodus post-COVID. North Korea closed itself, and when it opened, so almost everybody moved out. In 2024 December, we have again opened embassy, considering the increasing importance or the strategic importance, growing stature, increasing activity in this particular part of the world. Now, uh, apart from India, there are many other European, African countries, West Asian countries, which are opening the embassy today. Its strategic importance, as I said, is significantly more than it was about 4 or 5 years back. Militarily, it has been steadily growing its nuclear, rapidly working on technology such as hypersonic missiles, tactical weapons, and long and short-range missiles. I think it is therefore important for India, considering its past connectivity with Pakistan and China and the present connectivity with China also, uh, to be present in this area and keep abreast with the latest what is happening. And many observers feel that this is a sort of a strategic move to maintain the vital diplomatic channels, monitor the developments in that particular part of the world, and also strengthen India's role, sort of mediating role, if at all it comes across, as our ties with Russia, China, and others grow. Also, a lot of talk is happening with respect to the deepening ties between Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. Sometimes people do uh, compare it or compare it with Quad, say it's a counter to Quad. But personally speaking, I mean, they are two different kettles of fish. But yes, certainly what joins them together is the hit or the pushback to the unipolar system which is there today. Therefore, for India to remain in touch with what is happening in this area is a must. And I already mentioned to keep tab on activities of certain competitors in this area. It is necessary for us to be there. Also, from the North Korean point of view, for far too long, it has been isolated from the world. The opening of relations with Russia has taken off some pressure from China, and vice versa has given us certain option to North Korea. Even North Korea does not want to be totally dependent on one or two countries, would like better relations with, of course, Russia, but with some countries like India and all. Earlier, India also was a bit skeptical with Biden administration because there was a total break of relation up after the Trump stepped into North Korea through demilitarized zone. But now with Trump back in power, I think the relations of India are also on the mend and all. Incidentally, the last visit that Indian leader or an Indian politician or Indian minister rather had in North Korea or visited North Korea was in 2018 when General VK Singh, as a part of External Affairs Ministry, visited. But the most of the discussions centered around cultural exchanges and trade, giving out aid, especially in medicine and food aspects. So that is it. And after that, the UN sanctions, I think even that has fallen down to quite a bit. I think if I have to overall cover it in a very short, in the last takeaway sort of a thing. So our relations are framed by a sort of blend of historical ties, principled democracy or diplomacy, and pragmatic strategic engagement with this country. We have always upheld the humanitarian outreach, even during the time when the global pressure mounted against Pyongyang or North Korea. And recent embassy opening signals our desire actually to maintain influence and insight into East Asia, into this part of the world, which is coming into news so often, and also act as a responsible global actor and a potential bridge builder in this volatile region should the opportunity comes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for an insightful session of opening remarks, and we have many questions for you. So I would like to begin with, North Korea's military capabilities. You mentioned about their advanced ICBMs and cyber capabilities. As a lay researcher, because my expertise is in an entirely different area, I would like to know what exactly is behind this, advanced progress in military technology. I mean, is there a foreign country which is majorly lending some kind of a support to North Korea, because they have very limited resources? You mentioned that their economic condition is really bad. The per capita income is just $500 to $600. So this entire technological advancement, is it just out of its own efforts, or is it some kind of a foreign hand supporting it? And secondly, I would also like to know about their, I would say, innovations in the artificial intelligence.
Okay, I think this is a wonderful question, and you absolutely rightly pointed out about the foreign hands in this thing. See, when the Korean War broke out, it was between the two blocks. China and Russia on one side, and the US and NATO and the West on the other side. And that's how the 88th parallel came up. So we can safely say it is from that point of view, it is from that point that there has been a continuous support of especially China and Russia. And Russia has been going up and down depending on its engagement with the US and or engagement of Warsaw with the NATO in those days. But I'll just give the incidents of certain support, how overall its program has got enmeshed or being supported by other countries. Between 50s to 80s, Soviet Union was one of the major suppliers apart from, because China's condition was not there to supply high technology weapons. It was only after 80, after 90s, it has started with the high technology things. It was primarily the Soviet Union. 1959 is the first time when Russia, or rather Soviet Union, provided a small research reactor, Yongbyon, by the name of Yongbyon, and also trained DPRK scientists. Now, this actually laid the foundation for Korea's nuclear program. So, talk 1959. And China supported it, did not raise any objections. But after its 1964 nuclear blast, it rather did not share China never shared the bomb blueprint as per the open sources that we have, right? And it remained on a political sidelines, political solidarity, rather than giving any direct sort of a support. Now, when we come to, I'll talk about the nuclear first. I think I'll finish it. Thereafter, in the 90s, it was the infamous EQ Khan's network. Okay, before that, 1973, Yom Kippur War. You'll be surprised to know the Scuds. At that time, it was the Scuds missile, which Scud B missile, which DPRK received from Egypt, and it was sort of a thank you by the Egypt for supporting Egypt in the Yom Kippur War by supplying them the war material and giving them a diplomatic support. Now, these Scud missiles were reverse engineered, and thereafter a missile by the name of Hwangsong 5, Hwangsong 6 series were created. Today, they have graduated on to Hwangsong 18, 19. They're testing those series with 13,000 kilometer, 10,000 kilometer ranges. So that's how their missile program started. So this is as far as missiles are concerned. Also, missiles. Another country which assisted them was Iran, because as I said, there was a quadrilateral sort of understanding between the four countries: Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. So that is another country which assisted them in the support of missile making, and rather the apart from Hwasong missile 5 and 6, they graduate onto the Nodong series of missiles, and this Nodong series of missiles were the basis for Iran's Shadab series of missiles. This is as far as missiles and delivery means are concerned. And after that, they have innovated, they have got off and on technologies from various other quarters, which are not out in the open sources, but certainly maybe other countries which are supporting them. Coming on to the nuclear program, after that nuclear reactor, the bomb designs were not given. Then came an infamous Pakistan link of AQ Khan. We all understand that network. That was in 90s. So North Korea traded. Pakistan wanted the missile technology. North Korea wanted the bomb design and design for uranium enrichment. So that is where the Rodong missile technology was passed on to Pakistan. And in exchange, that was in exchange of the uranium enrichment centrifuges design and the machinery. The parts were exported there. Now, this barter between these two countries helped both of them to develop one Pakistan missiles and DPRK, the nuclear pathway, the uranium pathway. And as far as breakthrough came was the earlier, where, as I said, the Yongbyon 5 megawatt small reactor or testing reactor, which Russia had provided, supported it in building in 1959. They modified it, they worked on it, and by about 90s, mid 90s, late 90s, they started extracting plutonium from it for their nuclear bombs. So that was the first plutonium they got for their nuclear bombs. Thereafter, beyond plutonium, they developed their program, and certain firms, some fingers do point towards the Chinese also for providing metal machinery, tools, electronics, which supported their programs or enhanced their programs. And that's how they've slowly moved on to the thermonuclear weapon systems also. So today, in nutshell, they have overall about 60, some say 90 weapons, and plutonium for 90 weapons ready with them. As far as ICBMs are concerned, they have moved on from Hwangsong 5, 6 to almost Hwangsong 18. And not only solid liquid fuel, even solid state motors, which are more stable and quicker to launch, have been made by them. As far as submarine launched ballistic missiles are concerned, Pukuksong series are as of today with North Korea, with the range of about, it is solid fuel missile technology, range of about 4,000 kilometers. And it has nuclear submarine emissions, the triad, to complete that triad. In 2023, a Romeo class submarine, which was of Soviet origin, was unveiled, a refitted one, and which gave it aspirational, it told the world about its aspirations to own a nuclear submarine also. So, under the cover of dual use of goods, many of these countries have been providing it with these aspects. Certainly, Pakistan, Iran are documented. Certain amount of fingers are pointing towards Russia and China also. Also, it had made a good use of illicit program or illicit procurement networks across the world to buy alloys, electronic components, machine tools, machines, so things like that. And whenever a country is put under sanctions, we had our own case also after 98. Uh, I think the best comes out of that country again. So reverse engineering old Chinese systems, indigenous adaptations to from old to new have been quite good in their case. Now, as far as innovations are concerned, I think I have already touched upon that. Uh, they do send their engineers to the friendly countries for education, and also through illicit programs of illicit procurement, they do get out these technologies. AI, more than AI, it is the cyber, it is the blockchain in which they have surprisingly quite a bit of good technological hold. Even in AI, in the use of robotics and all, there are news of things coming up, but yet those things are yet to mature.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. So my next question is regarding India's recent outreach to North Korea. So I'm really curious whether it's some kind of a major strategic policy shift or just some sort of a tactical level signaling to the West that, that since our relations are getting estranged, India has the capability to explore other options. That's the first part. And secondly, since India is being touted as the flag bearer of democracy by the West in South Asia, in Asia, how will that go in defining India's relationship with North Korea, which is a major symbol of a brutal dictatorship? And thirdly, North Korea is friendly with the most of our adversaries like Pakistan, China, and has some illicit covert ties with the global Islamist lobbies. So, given that context, what is the scope of India-North Korea relationship? I mean, how long we can go, or is there any substance, or is just some sort of a signaling that we are doing right?
Well, see, I'll take I think one by one these questions, and there may be a mix of answers because many of them are leading from one to the other. Uh, India per se, between India and North Korea, there were never any animosity. Neither we have borders nor we have any other issues which are very controversial between the two nations. Yes, India is following the international norms, the United Nations norms to which we are signatory, and therefore those relations are not there. If the relations are, if we are not doing any trade, do have not much of economic activity, that does not mean that we don't have a presence in that country. Don't we have embassy in Pakistan? Don't we have embassy in our competitor in China and many other countries across the world? And looking at the importance, as which I elucidated in my opening remarks, of this particular area, should we want to stay out of this area or should we want to stay in the area? What to do once we are there in that area is best left to, I think, the foreign ministry and the government to decide, depending on how the things are panning out at the world stage. So, having said that, yes, there is no strategic shift per se, but yes, certainly the importance of this particular arena, this particular area has increased quite a bit, and India certainly would like to be present at the place of action. Should I say that way? Now, as far as democracy, defining relations with autocratic regimes, and you mentioned about brutal regimes, I think the answer is same. We need to be part of, if only, okay, fine, if not for us, but for at least understanding what is happening, what other nations are doing, what are its viewpoints. Having been a military diplomat in Moscow for 3 years plus, uh, you pick up a lot of things, and you pick up a lot of things not from the host country itself, but by interacting with the conglomerate of other countries, diplomats of other countries. And I think, if I'm not wrong, overall, 22 countries post 2021. That includes Germany, that includes UK, that includes Bulgaria, I think, that includes Egypt, and some countries in Southeast Asia have already opened their embassies in Pyongyang. In fact, China has two, one embassy, another consulate there. So I think ideology on one side, but practicability and being part of a system, being there at that particular time, is one part. And I think prudence demands that we be there. And what to do once we are there, I think it's best left. Now, yes, North Korea has good relations with China, with Pakistan, with although Pakistan are very low at post 2002, where so much of international pressure came up on Pakistan during Zia's time. With China also, it has a wonderful relation. Russia, it has a good relation. Iran, it has a good relation. But so do we have, except for basically, I think, leave alone Pakistan. Even with China, look what is happening right from, I should say, start last year, September. And as our foreign minister recently, I think in August, only one of the interviews, he mentioned, when we look at a relation with China, suddenly from 2024 September onwards till now, visas, direct flights, Mans rover, and then few other aspects have been the border moving back a bit. This is not happening because of a particular event. And today, everybody minds this tariff and all that. No, 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 no. We already had 22 or 23 rounds of SR dialogues. So all these events are happening as per long sort of discussions between the two countries, right? So even with China, we are moving ahead in the relationship. So, and with North Korea particularly, we do not have much problems or any bilateral issues. So I think opening embassies and improving our diplomatic footprint in that part will do us good itself.
Thank you, sir. We have one more question regarding North Korea, and then after that, we'll have maximum one or two generic questions about the East Asian geopolitics. So you already mentioned, and I guess it's something which is pretty much in news these days, that North Korea is engaging very strongly with Russia, and they're sending their soldiers to Russia. I guess 600 North Korean soldiers have already died in the Ukraine war. Now, if I look at that this equation in the larger context of China, Russia, Turkey, North Korea, Iran coming together, and some sort of a proto group forming with each other and against, I would say, the Western bloc. I mean, it's not yet very clear, but it's in a very, I would say, in a nascent shape right now. And if we look at that in the context of the emerging multipolar world, currently we are going through a phase of the multipolarization of the world order in which the new powers are challenging the rest. Sometimes we also say that it's a decline of the West versus the rise of the rest. Okay? So within that framework, that's the emergence of the new multipolar world order. How do you look at North Korea's role? I mean, will it be a significant player, or will it just be an entity aligned closely to Russia or China?
See, to my mind, personally speaking, I think as I look around, as you scan the world, do the environment scan of the world, which are the basic major powers of the world today? Let's talk about US, Russia, China. You come to the fourth one, I think India does find a place somewhere there. Then you have got Brazil, South Africa, Japan economically itself. Then the groupings of BRICS or SCO or EU, uh, not necessarily in that order, but yes, these are the ones which are today shaping the world. Then you have got Central Asia. So, uh, yes, you are right. As the balance of power is changing, and again, I will put one theory here. That is known as pendulum theory. I'm forgetting the name who initiated or who wrote about this theory. When a pendulum swings absolutely to the one side, right, which happened post 1991, which happened post tariff regime, suddenly, it is natural that pendulum has to come into the equilibrium state. It can't stay continuously towards one end, left, right, whatever you may say. It has to come to equilibrium state. So rest of the powers, it is natural for them to associate themselves together to get the pendulum back into the equilibrium state. And this is the basics of the balance of power theory also. In olden days, there used to be, that is 200, 300 years back, there used to be a number of powers. Prussia, Austria, UK, France, Russia, Ottoman Empire on the decline, and so many of them. So the basic was not to allow one particular power to gain so much of power that it is able to control the others. So there were no, that is where Lord Palmerston gave out that famous, which we keep on using so often, and our ministers also use quite often, is there are no permanent friends or enemies. It's permanent interests, permanent national interests. So, as the pendulum is today on the one side and international law is being replaced by international rules-based order, the rules are not written anywhere. Those rules are being applied selectively till when the others will continue to accept it. So, but natural for others to join together. As far as India is concerned, we always have a strategic autonomy. We do not follow any particular grouping or so. We have a principled stand on various issues, and rightly, our economic needs are such. We have got 1.4 billion mouths to feed today. No one country, no one bloc can give us everything. So we have to strike a fine balance. If you want technology, if you want trade, and things from Western Europe or from US, so you want a cheap oil and gas from this part of the world. You want rare earths and the magnets from China. You from semiconductors from Taiwan, from South Korea, from Japan, or subsequently as you become Atmanirbhar, make on our own. But till that time, and from 47 onwards, this particular policy has stood us in a good state. So yes, and as far as multipolar world is concerned, yes, in that particular aspect, we do align with the other rising powers, be it China, be it Russia, be it BRICS, Brazil, South Africa, that yes, the world has changed, and there is a need for all of us to be the voice, the institutions on which the world commerce, world trade stands today, those Bretton Woods institutions, who built them? Who's getting benefited by most of them? It is the victors who built them. All those exchanges are there. Every time you send the money from across the world through SWIFT, there is some amount which goes to them. So you are going to challenge that. So like that it is. So maybe let's see how it goes. But I think as far as our stand is concerned, it remains a strategic autonomy, and we have been following a thin line, been on thin line. But on certain aspects, we are with the countries who are espousing for the multipolar world.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Now we have last two questions. In fact, I'll just combine both of them. So how does India balance its one China policy with its technological, economic, and cultural ties with Taiwan. Even visit of Wang Yi, there was some kind of a minor irritant in which Chinese readout of the Indian foreign minister's speech mentioned that Taiwan is a part of China and India believes in one China policy. I mean, India did not officially make a statement condemning it, but India said that India continues to have the same policy with Taiwan, engaging Taiwan on economic, cultural, and technological fronts. So I would like to know your views on this. How does India actually balance that? And secondly, one of our intern, Maxim Sinha, has asked a question. Can India compete with China in the domain of utilizing soft power like Sanskrit against Mandarin, Ayurveda against acupuncture? Well, he looks like more of a fighter.
I think the second question I'll take first. My view is that soft power without hard power is nothing.
Yes.
Let's put it this way very, very clearly. If we are militarily, if we are strong economically, the soft power automatically comes, right? It will come. If you become a land of opportunities, if you become Atmanirbharta, if your industries are growing the way it is growing, if you from 4 trillion to 9 trillion economy next 5 years or 6 years, your soft power will automatically going to increase. You don't have to really go and open thousands of Confucius centers all around the world. No. Ultimately, those will turn counterproductive to you, which it is today. Most of the centers are closing at many of these places, right? So soft power, as far as it's concerned, is based on the hard power. I should say, technologically, economically, you have to be so strong. Now, coming on to one China policy, Taiwan, it's a tricky question actually. So, see, we have got a wonderful relationship with Taiwan, be it economical, be it educational, cultural, and I won't delve into how at this juncture, how and what irritants were there in the minister's aspect. But we follow, it is reciprocity. If you do not honor the sovereignty of the Indian aspects while marking the routes on the map for the BRI, so somewhere India also will have to give you back. I think I will leave it at that. So it is sort of reciprocity, the diplomatic term, what they call it, and that is where we stand today. But having said that, with Taiwan, we have got wonderful relations and good cultural, educational, and technological, actually. A lot of assistance in the semiconductor production and all coming from that part of the world.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. I really, particularly, I like the answer to the first question. I guess, the one on the soft power. In fact, it reminds me of one of my conversation with a dear friend of mine who happens to be a Russian diplomat. I would say this is about the days right after the Operation Sindhu. We are talking a lot about the narrative war and Pakistan's edge in that and all that. So I asked my Russian friend that, what are you doing about the propaganda war? The West is getting too strong against you. Then he said that, well, we like to fight real wars, not the propaganda wars.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. Your economic rise will attract a lot of people, a lot of other people to come to you, and that will.
That's all I tell them. Even my colleagues and my friends in this, I would say, world of geopolitics, that, we don't need to make much sound about our leadership of G20 or which we go. Our performance, our actions should speak louder than our words. If we perform economically well, if your roads are strong, clean, if your infrastructure is great, if your governance is corruption-free, dedicated, if your citizens are loyal to your country, your power naturally expands and the world sees it. We don't need to prove it again and again. Okay. So once again, thank you very much for this enlightening lecture. And the topic was very, I would say, interesting. Not many people would even know about this topic. North Korea in most of the think tank circles is like an anathema, because they kind of like to follow the Western narratives. But at USANAS Foundation, we always try to see beyond what's routinely accepted and break the old conventional molds. So thank you very much. We have one of our member asking a question, but I guess we are running short of time. So I guess Harsh will have to take it some other time. So I'm really sorry. But once again, thank you very much, sir. And we look forward to inviting you more often and engaging with you for our future dialogues offline and online, sir. I would like to mention that we are based in Udaipur, not in Delhi. So we are not the part of the Delhi-centric think tank circuit. I mean, we are trying to create a different signature out here, just trying to connect the smaller cities and the wisdom hidden in the traditional, I would say, aspects of India's statecraft and diplomacy with the global conflicts today and make it more relevant. And definitely, we will need your support and guidance for the future of activities also. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pandey. It was wonderful being here, and the questions were very piercing, should I say, right? And topic, as we discussed when we started the conversation a couple of days back, I said, of all countries, you've chosen North Korea.
I know that you are a military person, you have served in the government, but generally I prefer interacting more with the military people because at least, they can dare to speak their heart and their mind at least once they are out of the service. It's more difficult to crack the diplomats, but I mean, because the military people are more emotional and they truly, I would say, I mean, they study very seriously things on the ground. So we always get to hear new insights.
Also, I had some experience in the sense we used to meet North Korean diplomats in common platforms of Russians or Iranian when we were in Moscow. And having gone to South Korea, visited them, heard that side of the briefing, this topic was good for me to get back into, rather, I should say. So it was wonderful. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
But interesting is I'm just reminded of that movie MacArthur, in which the general says that the Indian ambassador K.M. Panikkar is playing a lot of I would say players in that area during the North Korean war, and I guess India was very active back in those days.
That's what I told you when we had gone. I think it was 2011. I'm not remembering. I think it's September or something. That 1 week was devoted to the 53 war, end of 53 war. And a very large portion was devoted in an exhibition. And it was on the main road. There are huge footpaths. On the main road, it was there, and beautiful photographs of Indian peacekeepers and Indian medical people. I'm forgetting the name. And they were the photographs, and the people were literally. And when you tell them that you are Indian, at least in South Korea, it was a personal experience that they felt very happy. And so that's what I said. With North Korea, we do not have any negative sort of emotions attached. It's only positivity. Thank you.
Recently, I met General Thimaya's grandson in Bangalore, and so he told me a lot of stories about Timmy's, I would say North Korea expeditions, and also his, I would say, experiences in the Middle East and all that. So I think they were interesting times.
North Korea is one country which personally is on my bucket list. I don't know when it will be possible to go to that, to the Hamid Kingdom, and see what is there, what is it all about. Yeah, let's see.
Hopefully soon. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Namaskar. Jai.
Jai Hind. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Beta. Thank you.